As children, we would touch everything as we moved, grazing our fingers lightly across each surface, as if our fingertips alone could begin and hold entire conversations with textured walls. Our hands could understand the history, the context, everything that was and could be. With a small brush of nimble fingers, we would repaint every object with our DNA, create stories of uprisings and revolt. We would trace each outline of the world and redraw it in our heads, each curve and turn telling us of the richness of narratives our ancestors used to hold. We would draw words and colours from the world through our fingers, took what our fingers learned and committed it to the page. We would regale tales to our friends of what we've seen, chase butterflies into neighbours' gardens, just hoping that we could replicate the experience of seeing colours fly. We now have to fight off our stories being twisted in between unfamiliar hues upon the white cube. We've been confined within the edges of the canvas. The two dimensions do not do us justice. Surrounded by white and only white. They say white is a palette cleanser. In between each new piece of art, the bright colour acts as a void, so uncontaminated and pure that we can no longer have our fingers linger with curiosity across them. Rather, each stroke, brush or finger must be measured to stop every dab of paint leaving small indents, a sign you were once there. Our art is to be devoid of us and must be of us at the same time. We are always the objects of the art, but never the creators of it. The rich rawness that comes with marvel is now replaced by sanitized retellings of our own existence on small white cards with black ink across them. If the white on these walls could speak, what would they say? Would they speak of children dragging their fingertips across them, leaving stories and little pieces of themselves behind? Or would they speak of the gaze that follows them, the lack of nuance and complexity within the stories it is forced to uphold? Would these white walls remember each and every colonized person that was forced to live on them but never be named? Would they remember the way your hair smelled, or the way your mum cooked sambar on Friday evenings? If you were to drag your fingertips across the white walls, whose history and whose names would your fingertips be told was important? Whose narratives would be prioritized? Who would be given the lion's story and who would be given the hunter's? Whose names would be bold and italicized and who would just be identified by their ethnicity? The next time you have the urge to drag your unclean fingers across those white walls, do it. You never know whose story you might be adding to.